Okay.
I learned that record on the cloud from doing the IHMA piece.
Oh, nice.
The only problem is this may get way too big for that, but we'll try it and see what happens.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really nice because when you record to the cloud, it keeps the 4 separate files. It keeps the entire file. It keeps just the whatever you're presenting, meaning the screen share, for instance, with the
Okay.
words. It keeps just the words, and then it keeps just your face. Anyhow, all right, so here we go. So I'm going to start by just giving you, I'm literally just diving right into the system itself. All right, so what you're looking at is the current interface. We're working, so to understand, we're working in what we're calling our system 3.x. Our system 4.0 is heavily in process. We hope to have out in beta in about 2 months. We just had a meeting this morning, and they're getting a lot closer.
Okay.
So the system itself is broken up into 3 parts. First of all, you do have an overview idea of what QR Manager is, correct? Before I
do, but give me a quick one just to
right.
make sure that.
Thank you. So before we even go there, do you understand the basic terminology, what QRs are, and the difference between static and dynamic QR codes?
Yes. So
Okay,
static, dynamic. A static will take you to a fixed page, right? A dynamic would be like a QR code that's serialized almost.
it doesn't have to be serialized. The dynamic basically is just simply like a 404 redirect. You could think of it like a URL shortener.
Okay.
So dynamic code has been out for quite some time, but it basically means that instead of going directly to the static URL that's in the code, it goes to a server, which will then redirect to another page. And if you use a dynamic code, it allows the user to change the landing page. So with a static code, basically it's going to go, let's say, to your home page, right? All of a sudden you want to change that to a product page. In order to do that, you'd have to literally change your home page to a product page. So it gives you very limited use. The second, the standard dynamic code allows you to go back and change it from your home page to your product page. Now, to put some perspective, about 90% of the world's, or let's just say, keep it in the US, because it is different. 90% of US codes are static codes. Of the last 10%, 90% of those are what I call simple dynamic codes. Simple dynamic codes work with companies like QR Stuff and menu companies and all sorts of people out there that create QR redirection based on individual codes that are generated specifically for what is sort of for a single use. All right, so you put one on a menu, for a restaurant, and all 50 of them, you're going to print one code, put it on 50 menus, and when you want to change the menu, you just drop in the system and you change to have another menu page show up. But all of your codes are the same. Even if you did 10,000 products using dynamic codes, you'd print one code and put it on 10,000 products.
Okay.
So now we basically, and already you're down to 10% of the original codes. 10% of those, meaning the last, basically the last 1% of all codes out there that final whatever are what I call batch codes, or they may be serial, they may be otherwise, but they're batch codes. Batch codes are where you're taking and putting a different code on every product or everything, every label, every product, whatever you're doing with it, and then redirecting them based on the entire batch or potentially a part of the batch. The way most batch systems work that are out there, most companies that create batch codes, whether they're for authentication or otherwise, is that the URLs are basically like pearls, personalized URLs. What happens is that you decide what batch you want to do. Like today, we want to put 10,000 codes on product A. So you're going to generate this batch and you're going to create the QR codes based on that product set. And then you're going to put them on. You need another 20,000 codes tomorrow for something, you're going to drop into the system and the system will generate those 20,000 codes based on that product set. So there's a lot of features that can be done with this, and there are some quite sophisticated systems out there using batch codes in this way. But I identified early on a need for a substantially more flexible batch coding system that is not tied to whatever somebody wants to do at the time that they create the codes. So the way QR Manager is dynamically different than most, but not all systems, is that the codes are created irrespective of what they're going to be put on. You don't need to know anything about what you're going to do with them. So let's say today, let's just use a quick, I'll throw out quick use examples. Today, Chris comes in and goes, you know what, we want to start doing this. We want to make a stock product, but we want to be able to create these things in advance and then sell. This is exactly why I did it, how I invented it in the first place, because we pre-create all these stock holograms. We have the equipment to individually code as we ship, but often somebody wants to print, in green or red or blue, and we only have a one color thermal printer, and we don't want to run two passes where we have to come back and thermal print the QR code and then thermal print their logo. So we want to pre-create all these holograms, right? So let's say for Chris, he goes out and says, okay, we're going to, print 100,000 codes so that we could sell them 1,000 to this guy, 500 to that guy, 10,000 to that guy. So you pre-print the codes, you have rolls of, pieces, however you sell, 500,000, 2,500s. And each roll will say that the starting number is 1 and the end number is 2,500. We're not even yet talking about the URL itself, but let's just talk about the number set, right? So then you ship this company 10,000 labels, 4 rolls of 2,500, and you make note that they now have, numbers 1 through 10,000. Well, the company gets it and they start using it. And basically, let's say they just start out and they go, okay, we're going to start with this. We don't even know what we're doing with them right now. I like to talk through examples. It's the easiest way to sort of understand why the system it was built, and then you can back end that of the infinite flexibility that it has. So the idea is here, they get 10,000 codes. This happens often, and they'll go, we don't even know what we want to do. Can you just send those to our webpage till we figure it out? Sure. So we send the 10,000 or 50 or 100 or 1,000,000 or whatever it is instantly to the web page, to their primary web page. But then tomorrow they go, oh, well, we want to make 500 business cards. Actually, it's 3 people. We want 500 each. Okay, put 500 each on your 3 cards, and now you can create a web page, whatever that is, or if you have a place or you want to, drop it into a lead sheet, whatever you want to do, you can drop into the system and separate immediately those 1,500 codes as 3 batches of 500 that now go somewhere else without touching the rest of those 99,000 codes. So now those 3 sets go, and then tomorrow, oh, we're going to put 10,000 on our product A. You just make note of it, and whenever you're ready for it, you drop in the system and redirect those to your product page. So on and so on. So what happens is that you have a batch system which is infinitely breakable into smaller batches at any time in the future. This is the first sort of concept of how the system is designed as being a sort of extremely flexible packaging-based product. So it isn't aimed at digital QR codes. This is not for people emailing QRs. This is meant to be on packs. Could also be direct mail, could be all sorts of things, but it's meant to be on a physical thing that somebody's going to take their little, and the other most important overview is that our system at this time is only Eventually it won't be, but it certainly is aimed anyhow at the end user using mobile devices, no downloadable application. And this is critical because most, especially of the authentication systems out there, are requiring some kind of a download. That's fine for supply chain, that's fine for employees, but our system is really more aimed at end users. It's aimed at the person that gets this thing at some level is going to scan this and something's going to happen. Okay. So then again, the 30,000 foot overview of the system is that it is connecting the brand to the end user through their package without respect to where or how it was sold. So if you just think quickly of the overview of how normal connections occur, let's just make this, whatever, Procter & Gamble sells their cereal box, right? It goes out through who knows where, Walmart, Kmart, this and that and the other. But the bottom line is that by the time the end user gets it, Procter & Gamble has no absolute, now this may be a bad example, but it's just one that's coming to my head. They have absolutely no idea who that person is. If Procter & Gamble wants to reach that end user, they have a few options. One, box redemption, which they do, send in your box top to see whatever. Why are they doing that? Because every person that comes back, they've now found their end user. Otherwise, they're doing separate mailings or PR or all sorts of different ways to try to target that end user. But this QR automatically connects that end user to the brand, irrespective of the supply chain that it was sold through. This one piece alone for a savvy brand makes it worth highly looking at QR Manager without anything else, because right now, what you've done is bypassed everybody, right? And made your package, your smart package, a marketing vehicle, something that you can connect to those people, because anybody that does scan it, whatever percentage of people that is, that's your customer. And this is another thing that sets us apart from a lot of the authentication systems out there. Most of them are work through their own branding. So like Can Verify, Loose ID. These people basically are saying, we're going to verify your product for you. So an end user scans it, even if they end up on the end user's site, the URL, things about the experience are going to look like Can Verify or Loose ID because they're setting themselves up as that. Well, our direction is that the brand and or the reseller, depending on how someone wants to frame this, should have this thing completely white labeled to them so that the end user sees the entire system as something that was either created by the brand, certainly keeps inside the ecosphere of that brand, and doesn't, unless it's desired. We're happy to have, HoloShield authenticates if that's what you want. But most people that we're talking to, especially smaller businesses, would, and probably bigger even more so, would much prefer it to be their URL and their landing page. So most systems, like in cannabis, for instance, people that are doing, lab pages, all the labs right now are sending people either to Confidentially Cannabis. This is one really big company that basically offers landing pages for lab results, or to the lab pages themselves. But again, so what happens is somebody scans the product, and instead of going to, company brand, they go to Confidentially Cannabis. And even if the Confidentially Cannabis is putting up their thing, it's like going to the yellow pages. It's because now once you're there, you can start searching for other people. Why would you want to do that? All right. So white labeling is a very big part of why QR Manager is powerful and growing in that way. Now I'm going to start diving into the system itself, unless you have questions at this moment that you want to.
No. So, and what you're showing me now, with this is not this would be kind of like the customer portal, right? It's not
Correct.
necessarily the user portal.
The end
So as
user
that,
doesn't have a portal in the current version.
right, okay, okay,
That's correct. So this would be either your portal or your customer's portal, let's say,
right,
if you guys were using this. In this case, it's our portal, but we assign users, which are companies basically, that have a more limited version of this. And we also are able to, in the newer version, right now we can assign a company user, that a client user that can have companies. But in the newer version, we'll be able to assign a master user, like to you, that can have what we call clients and companies. It's just a matter of the hierarchy of how much someone can do and what they can assign.
right. And so Peter, customers get a website where they can go and log on? Is that, it's like a URL of some sort? How do they reach the system?
Yes, exactly. There's a login. Let me just, I'll show you
With
exactly.
with like a user, and like I would get like a user ID and a password. Okay.
Correct. So you would come to a page just like this,
Okay,
and you would simply have a user ID and a password, and you would sign
okay,
in. And then if you want, you can set up someone below you to do the same thing.
right,
All right.
right. Or you could give us a list of two or three different user IDs and passwords for company X or whatever.
No, once you, if Nanotech signed up even today, which I can
Right.
assign you one of these tomorrow, today, once you have you can actually set up. Can I do that right now?
Yeah. No, someone, would you give us, let's say,
Anyway, so in the current version, it's limited, but in the coming version, if we give you a client level access, then you
right.
can set up what we call companies below you.
Yeah.
And
No, no,
so
I got that.
each
Yeah.
of those, oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, so what I was going to say, so let's say the customer was just Nanotech, right? And I come to you and say, I need these 5 people from Nanotech to all have passwords and user IDs. All of us could have our own. Yeah.
Okay, so in the current version, you can, but it's not really working well. So no, I would say in this moment, no, but in 2 to 3 months, absolutely. And you'll
Okay.
be able to assign all sorts of permissions to each of those users.
Yeah,
So you could,
that's a big, okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so for instance, you'll be able to say this person can view but can't edit. This person
Sure.
can view certain projects but not others. This person.
Yeah.
So this way you could have divisions that work differently, and the master could assign certain sets of numbers to different divisions. They could assign certain companies or certain clients. You'll have within 6 months. I'm not going to say right off. It's supposed to. It's already written in, but I'll say within 6 months, we plan to have very, very strong user permission experience within the system.
Okay.
And it's meant for multiple ways, but in a larger company, the idea is that you could have, if you have whatever 3 cities that are working, but they're working with different products, and you don't want them to be able to have any overview except for the top guy, then you're able to do that, but assign very specifically what each one of those can do. Or again, if you've got an accountant that you don't want them to edit anything, but they can see, or managers, whatever.
Yeah. Or if you have a team of 3 people working in a division and you want all 3 of those people to have access to it.
Yeah, whatever however you want to do it. There's going to be a lot of assigning. I can give you an idea if we end up with time of what that's going to look like.
That's fine. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just asking, just.
Yeah, no, that's great. Sorry. Any other questions at this moment, or keep going?
I'll keep going.
Okay, so the system is broken into 3 what I call sections, and they are the scans, the projects, and the pages. So for the scans, everything that gets into the system, you automatically know what was scanned, where it was scanned, and when it was scanned. So in the current version, let's say 80% of scans, anyone that isn't on a VPN or some corporate server that's somewhere else, you basically know within a few blocks of where they are. So this one piece alone is a very powerful, it's data. So the first thing the system is offering, besides everything else I've already kind of mentioned, overview, is data. And obviously we live in the big data age. So you're immediately again, connecting to your end users, you're knowing where those scans are. So if you're selling product, you know, you don't have really any idea where the product's being bought or when or why are people looking at it. This starts to, in the newer system, you'll be able to report on it, to be able to say, for instance, how many people in the greater Houston area scanned our product A in the month of December, or all sorts of other things.
Yeah.
So in the current system, it's much simpler than that. You can sort by IP, and therefore, you know, unless somebody's changed that, you know, you could, you know, say, oh, look, boy, this person bought a lot of products, scanned a bunch of product. If they're different, in this case, they scanned the same thing every time, but, you know, you'd be able to look at that, you know, see what product they scanned. Actually, that's not true. These are different. I apologize. These are different numbers. So this particular person scanned a bunch of different numbers for whatever reason. You know, in the newer, you'll be able to do a lot more with that. So there's the scan side. The project side is the actual redirect section of the system. So this is basically where you're telling the system what codes are doing what. So I'm going to show you in a moment what this looks like, but basically here, this, if you just look here, this is telling you a little something about it. The company, in this case, over, you're going to see, you know, some basic information, notes, what we call a unique ID. This is saying that this particular URL, this particular, we call it a base URL, because so what happens is, we would assign you a base URL. So that might be, for instance, let's say that you, when you signed up, you create a subdomain. We have a one-time charge for that. Eventually this will be free, but right now it's a $600 charge for an end user. Everything we have, we offer discounts for resellers and so forth. And in your particular case, we'll work in whatever way. If it turns out you want to do something, it doesn't really matter. So, but right now we basically say $600. And when you do that, instead of it being a HoloShield URL, this could be, I'm just looking down here, all of this happens to be
No, but
HoloShield.
it could be a nanotech URL. It could
Correct.
be,
It could be, yeah, it could either be a primary domain that you're not using, or it could be a subdomain. So usually people are doing subdomains like qr.nanotech.com.
Sure.
And if that's the case, then all of your QR codes will be qr.nanotech.com/something. And also, if you do that, all of the pages, if you use the system that way, I'm getting to that, would also be at qr.nanotech.com.
Okay.
So this is how it will white label. So in this case, you've got numbers H97251 through H97270. This is telling it that this set of whatever it is, 19 labels, are going to go to this primary redirect. This number set could be anything from, you know, it could be 1 to 1, so it could be one label, or it could be 1 to 10 million. Whatever that number is, as soon as you create and save that project, instantaneously that entire set of codes are going to do whatever this project is telling it to do.
Okay.
So I'm going to duplicate a project just to show you what the project screen looks like.
Okay. And you can create as many projects as you want, change it as many times.
Correct. That's right.
But right now it'd be $600 every time you do it.
Oh, no. Well, no, God, no.
No, 600 is the first time.
That's a one-time fee only if you want your own white labeled QR code.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
If you're using HoloShield, you don't pay that at all.
Oh.
And once it's paid, you could then, I mean, you're going to buy codes, but you could buy 1 billion codes and you're never going to pay the 600 again.
Okay.
Until you say you don't want it to be qr.nanotech. Now you want it to be info.nanotech.
Right.
You know, you want to change the you know, or add new ones or have customer new ones. That's where that's a one-time cost. So here we've duplicated it. In your portal, you would not be able to go in here and change the base URL. The base URL will be assigned to you. That's how we control the system. So if you're, if you know, a normal end user would come in, whether they're buying codes or let's say they're buying a roll of holograms. Let's say they buy 10,000 holograms that are holoshield.net / customer one / A1 through 10,000. So we would basically go in and we would assign them 10,000 codes. And I'll show you in a minute what that would look like. But actually, I probably can do that using one of the issueness is I can't open two separate portals in a single. Let me see who we've done. One second. I can't open two separate portals in a single browser. So I'm doing this in Firefox and we're not optimized for Firefox. Okay, so, but at least I can show you without closing my other one. If I'm just looking for one that might have. Okay, so this would be an example of a customer portal. Like if you were signing in, this is one, and in fact, they have a white labeled URL, which is cx.cxauthentics.com. So all of their URLs are gonna look like that. If we go into their projects and we go to add a project, you'll see that this is fixed, right? So if oh, are you seeing this? You're not seeing this, are you? I'm so sorry. I have to change my share. I apologize, Chris. All of that, what I was doing there, you didn't see any of that, but that's okay.
Fine.
Guess I have to. Okay, are you now seeing the red one?
Yep.
Okay, so as opposed to this, let's just look at these side by side, right? On this one, this is what I was telling you, we assign the base URL. In the customers, this is already pre-assigned. So there's no, they can't go in here and change this. And it tells them the range that they have to work with. So when you come in here, you know that you've bought this 3,000 labels and you can only work within that. You can't put in 3001. It won't take, the system won't take it. This is how we control the system and monetize it. Right now, it's all monetized through the QRs themselves. In the future version, we will be allowing monetizing through either scan count or signups to be able to really open this up in exciting ways. But right now it's this way. So here, if you look, this particular client has bought a bunch of different times from us. And so if you open up their new project screen, you can see it. They've got a lot of different sets of numbers that they can work within. You can see they started with low numbers. Now they're up to getting 10,000 at a time. This is their latest number. So they could come in here and, you know, again, sign number 10,001 through 11,000 to one project and so forth and so forth. I'm not going to do anything in here because this is actually a live customer portal. So here, when you're in here, whatever your set you would see, I guess I can show you this. We can duplicate, this is a duplicate. This isn't hurting anything. So you could, for instance, put in, I'm just not going to save it, 100001. You always have to have the same amount of digits. Just want to show you quickly, and this is maybe a little further than I need to go, but I'm just going to. So you could do that, but then you could also say, oh, well, we did that one, but we also did, you know, we also did, you know, 350 through. So basically you can, at this point, you're assigning, if you wanted, multiple sets of numbers. So if like there were 4 different people putting on products to this particular project, let's say you were putting on things and you had given them different roles to work with, so they all had different number sets that they were putting on, the system allows that flexibility so that instead of having to go in and create, you know, 5 different projects, you can do it all at once. If all of them are going to be redirected in the same way, you just set it up and it's going to break those out of this main number set, no matter what these individual sets are, whether they're 1 or 10 or 50 or 1,000. You're creating multiple, we call it projects at one time, and it just basically breaks the set into those different projects. So so now we go back to the more the sort of and maybe that was too much detail. I have to work on this part. I tend to go down rabbit holes with this, but at a higher level overview, you're immediately redirecting this set to this, what we call the primary redirect page. And that can be anything outside our system or inside it. So this could be just going back to your web page or a new page that you create, or something created inside our system, which is the third part of our system, which is web page creation. But here you can say, well, this is where one of the first authentication factors is. Somebody wants to say, well, what happens when somebody counterfeits one of my labels? We've had this happen a bunch of times. Most counterfeiters they're not sophisticated. They're not going in. I mean, at a higher level, at your level, they certainly are. But most of the companies that we're dealing with, a counterfeiter is just grabbing a package and trying to duplicate that package and then make a bunch of them. They don't even know that there are more than one. They don't buy 10 packages and look to see that there are different ones. And even if they did, they would have no idea what the number set was, so they couldn't do anything with that. They just grab one of them and they counterfeit that particular QR code 10,000 times. Happens all the time. So you would say, how many scans would you normally expect to see from a particular product? So, you know, and so they may say, well, I don't know, one at the grow, and if it's cannabis, one at the grow, one in the dispensary, one by an end user, and one by their friend. Now, the reality is they're only getting 10 to 15 scans per 100 out of everything anyway. So the likelihood of getting 4 or 5 scans from one particular code is very unlikely, but whatever that is. So you would come in here and set this to 6, something above that, not worried about those first 6. But after that 6, any one of these numbers, so if this was 10,000 codes, that particular code after the 6th scan will now go to this warning page without affecting the rest of the 999,000 codes.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you get 30 scans in Erie, Pennsylvania, you know that you're counterfeited and you know where.
Right.
So this gives
Right,
you, plus you've driven everybody that scans those counterfeit codes now, you've driven to a page that you've built that has warned them that this may be a counterfeit product, maybe they should call this number. And you can also have it after that, what we call trigger, you can drop in an email which will send the brand manager or whoever, security personnel, that same information from the scan, saying that this trigger has occurred, to alert them so that they can go looking for it if they want to, whatever. Okay, so this is one of the main features. There's a lot of other ways that you can use scan redirects, especially as we make this more sophisticated, but in the current, this is the sort of best use case. You also have the ability to come in here and put what we call a date redirect. So here you're able to say that during this particular time frame, in this case, it popped up with March 1st at 4 to March 20th at 4. This could be anything. That during this time frame, all of these codes, instead of doing this, are going to do this and go to another place. So this is the beginning of the ability to run promotions. This is the beginning of the ability to have an expiration date. After this particular date, when you set up the product, you know the expiration date. When you set it up, you drop it in here, and instantly all of those codes after that date, anybody that scans it is going to say, this product is expired. We suggest don't use it anymore. Go buy yourself some more. That one piece of this system, when people start realizing what the power of that for companies that have expired product is in itself a worthwhile purchase. Forgetting about everything else, right?
It could, aside from promotions, it could be for, I don't know, products that have a shelf life, you know what I mean? Like something that is like like anything from like food to a lotion to something that it would
100%.
apply. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And in the newer system, it can be both. And you can even have overrides, meaning that you can say that it can run a promotion on this product, but if you scan it after the expiration date,
right.
then the promotion won't be active anymore.
Okay.
Something like that, right? Okay, so you have all of this different, and there's a bunch of other stuff I won't get into, but there, you know, it's all there. So, you know, and many parts, you know, sort of features of the parts of it are that, you know, this ability to, you can come back in here and edit at any time if you want to change where they're going. So again, you know, you got 10 or 50 or 100,000 things, you just edit a URL and boom, it all changes in a period of 30 seconds. Same thing, you duplicate if you're making a lot of promotions that are the same, or you've got things in there that's just going to be kind of the same thing you use over and over, just with a URL change, you duplicate it, or just a number change, you just duplicate it, change your numbers, and boom. So we're trying to think to make this as utilitarian as possible at every level. So then that pretty much finishes in the current version, nothing, and I do have a 12:15, so I'll let you know soon. I'm gonna leave,
Yeah,
but
we got 20 minutes.
yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm probably 15 actually, because I'll need to break and get ready.
Sure.
So, so now we have the page side. The
Okay.
page, right? So this is optional, meaning it's in there. We don't charge it. The system in its current form, there are no charges, there are no monthlies. You just buy the QR codes and you get all features of the systems and all updates. The only cost for the system or whatever might be upfront. We charge $150 right up front for the initial user interface to an end user. We charge the $600 if they want a white label URL. And then we do offer custom templates, and those are additional costs. But in the new system, you'll be able, it's going to be way, we just learned today that our coding team came up with we'll be able to build our own templates. If you bought in as your own system, you'll actually be able to build templates, not forgetting about pages. You can build templates for your customers and charge them for it inside the system. Anyhow, but if we just take a quick look here, you know, the old system, we had lots of templates in here, and we would assign them as necessary. And the old system is a little slow right now as well, but it is what it is. This won't be like this in the new one, because we're not going to do this. We're just going to have something basically normally you'd get a single template unless you're a reseller and you have the ability to create templates, because our template has become so much more sophisticated than when we first started. And we also realized that most people don't need all that much. But you basically have this page designer inside the system. And even in the current form, it's already very powerful. So you basically would start by creating your header block, you know, choosing your color, adding your font, putting in menu items, you know, the header is, you know, across the top, whatever, to create something that's going to look either how you want it to be new or like your old website, like your existing website. So you can immediately do that. You create the header, you know, you come in, you can, you know, pick, I want it to be that color, I want the background to be, you know, this over here, that's going to be the font, that's going to be the background. This, you know, we're going to add nav items, you know, this is going to be home, and that's going to go to, you know, here, and then we're going to do another one that, you know, it's going to be a home 2, and that's going to go over there, whatever, right? As soon as you hit save on this, it will basically create a web page with a header that does everything that you've told it to. You also come in and create your footer, whatever you want to do with that, you know, so that you can have your, you know, we have social media links and everything else already built into it.
So the pages is creating like a custom URL in case you don't want it to go to your own URL.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. It's creating a page inside our system.
Okay.
And as the system grows, so this is for 2 reasons. In the current version, it's really meant for people that don't have an IT department, that are going to want to create new product pages or other pages and they don't want to have to go, call their IT staff every time they want to do it, because this can be used by somebody at $15 an hour, that as long as they understand how to use a computer and a word processor, they can basically build pages on the fly.
Right, but like a bigger company that has the resources probably would just create their own company URLs and can just put them in the project side, right? Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That's correct. So once you create it, it will create a URL under your thing, and then you just copy that in the current version. The new version, you'll be able to actually link it. But in the current version, you'll copy it. You can keep the 2 pages open at once. So you finish the page, you copy it, drop it into your project page, and boom, you're done. I mean, literally, you can create a page with pictures and videos, and data capture and whatever else you want to do in a period of minutes. So what you would first do is create your header and your footer. And once you've done that, you just save that as your master page and then just duplicate it the same way. So now you just come back to make more pages that already have that. You only have to do that once. That's the hardest part of this, honestly, is deciding what you want the page to look like, the overview, the template, as you were, right? Once you've done that, you just duplicate it and you come back, and most people just change a picture or some words and make another page. So, but you've got all sorts of things you can do with it already. You can have this, and here it shows it. And then in the new one, we're hoping it will be dynamic and show you as you go. But right now, it just gives you kind of a thumbnail of what it looks like. Here's the title below the header. Underneath that, you have what we call the descriptive block. So you can put in descriptions and a picture. Below that, you've got the video block. So you can put in 1 or 2 videos and some information in both of these blocks. You can also use HTML. In the new version, you'll have complete access to HTML all the way through. You can drop in a picture like a certificate or whatever you want to do there. Then you also have what we call the footer block, which I'm not the footer, the form section, which is going to get huge. But in the current version, you basically can add a name, so you can collect data, have a name, email or whatever. When somebody submits it, it will, collect this into the system. The future of the system, Chris, is that we will have mini versions of, and probably pretty soon, the way my coding team is telling me, of a tracking system, warehouse management, certainly a CRM. Eventually, we want to API into bigger systems. But the idea is that you can either use it as its own small thing to do all of this stuff at a smaller level, or you can API that information however you want to into your anything, Oracle or Chimp Mail or whatever it is, right? Because it's all about data, right? So anyhow, so you've got the form section, and then we've created I don't know if you've seen, this is a bigger thing these days, a link section. It makes a page that looks kind of like this. So you can create just multiple link pages. So you could create a bunch of pages, but if somebody wants to scan the thing and they don't, when you're making it, you don't want them to go right to a lab page. You want to bring them to an interim page where here they've got product info, and here they've got lab results, and here they've got, whatever else. So you can create a page. Again, you would just duplicate the page that has, in this case, this header and footer, and then you would just add your different links that you might want for that particular project. And then if you decide, oh, that's great, but no, if you only want to use the form, then it's just going to get rid of all the rest of this and just truncate it and leave the form in the middle. But if you decide you want to use the form and the certificate, but you want the form above it, you just drag it and you move that up there. You move this over here. You want to put your header under the footer, whatever you want to do. And it just instantly rearranges that page. So even after you've done it, you can edit a page, rearrange it, and then just hit save, and it's going to instantly change the page that it's on. I don't want to do this because these are live pages, but these are all product pages that are created inside the system just to give a feel for things that it can be. Can also have validation. We already have validation where you can have a scratch off, and so a secondary number is in the system. It will compare the scratch number to the original number to make sure that's right. That basically gives you a one-time validation, but it's 99.9999% impenetrable unless somebody literally hacks our system. We've got 256-bit encryption. You already have the ability to have, again, this would be like, something where you come in and then it drops back through to another page, certificates inside the system. So this just gives you a feel for
Yeah.
where we're going. Go ahead.
So you guys can set up a validation now, and where you could have like a serial number and a code that goes with it, with like, with each like product per se.
Yeah, we've got a company using millions of them right now.
Okay.
So basically there's a scratch. I can show.
Yeah, and even if it's not a scratch, let's say it's just a visible number, and it's let's say it's like an OPSEC thing where they're using a serial number and then a random 4-digit code on every label.
We have here this.
Yeah, sorry, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, this is an example of one of our more complex labels that has the QR as a scratch underneath it, tells people to scratch to validate. I don't have that page up, but it basically, that's what you do. So if both numbers are visible, there's
Yes.
no security in that. Because now you've told people, whoever's looking at that, if they have a roll of labels, they could copy the information down and it's going to validate. So you would want to hide one of the numbers. That could be done under, and the same like Wegman can put that number under. So you could have something on a package that you can't even get till you've bought it, because the whole thing's under a shrink wrap, and then you get it home. And when you peel it off, the scratch number or the other number is under the bottom of the label. Then it's already hidden, and that's the one that you enter. So there's a lot of ways that you can play that, but if you don't hide it, there's really no security in it.
Yeah, although, yeah.
I mean, if you can come up with a way, sure. The answer is it doesn't matter to the system whether it's seen or not.
Yeah, really good.
Right?
Yeah.
That's just a matter of coming up logistically.
So let's say it's just a serial number, right? And is there a way for a user to go in there, so they scan it, and then I guess a screen comes up and they put in a serial number, and it tells you it's real or not? It says it's authentic.
Actually, one second. I think these are live codes.
Yeah, so that's, I guess that's
I'll show you what it does.
okay.
So basically this brings up yeah, so this is the page that this brings up, right?
Okay.
It basically tells them this.
Okay. So scratch, and then you put in the number, and then it tells you that it's authentic. Okay.
Correct. And if it's not, it'll go like, if I put in whatever, something that isn't right, it's going to go to another page that says,
Right. Okay.
whatever you want. And all of those pages in the next version, right now, we would have to, if you're using it for this, we would build those pages for you. In the next version, you'll be able to do all of that directly in that same form section. So your page building section.
Does the system have a reporting tool of some sort?
It will in the new version. So what I'm showing you now in our last 3 minutes, and we can do another one anytime you want, but I just wanted to give you enough of a direction here that we can further. I can even meet you again this afternoon. I just have to go to this.
No, this is perfect. We could also talk. It gives me a starting point. Like after CES, we can, if I'll get people interested, and then we can.
Perfect. So basically, just quickly, yes, the new system has reporting built in. We don't know yet how we're working on that right now, how sophisticated, but the idea is that you'll be able to ask it all sorts of things and report on almost anything. So the new system will be broken into sort of simpler sections: main redirects, date redirects, promotion, and database. The two things just touch upon quickly. The promotion is powerful because it can be applied to multiple projects. So you can run promotions and they will be, they'll happen independently of your project information, so that you'll be able to, do all sorts of things, run different promotions at once, and, and apply them to, so you could say, again, we're going to run this promotion only for product X and Z, and only in San Francisco, greater San Francisco area. You'll be able to geotag your promotions, for instance. For this, as long as it's by this, it's always by where the scan is. So it's, it's limited. It's not 100%, but it's close. And then we also have a full database built in, which is where things get really exciting. where you'll be able to actually enter all sorts of things that you'll know about it: the product name, the SKU number, the batch number, the person that put it in the package, and then you'll be able to build custom fields for anything that you want, you know, colors or whatever you might want to do, so that every time someone scans that, you can actually start building pages. And we have sub products, so that if you had a product, a t-shirt, but then you wanted to have green, blue, and red, large, small, and whatever, you can do that and start setting this up. Our direction here is huge, is that, and there's no reason when somebody scans, for instance, for a warranty right now, forget about what they do now. The idea is that when you scan that warranty, it should pop up onto the screen anything that the people that were putting it in the package knew, or at some point in that supply chain that they had access, that they could know. So it should say, thank you for buying the green, you know, air conditioner at Joe's department store, whatever you might know about it. And yours, you know, you might even know the serial number, depending on how somebody set the system up, right? And it would present all that, and it would say, if you'd like to extend your warranty, just put in your name and your phone number, and it's done. So you don't make people go write all this stuff. Right now, when you go to sign up, they have to write everything. Anything that was known about that should already appear on the screen. And our system will have what's called a push-pull database, so that it can present information that you knew, but then when somebody signs up, it will take that person's information and tie it to that particular QR number in the system. And now you can do all sorts of things, like the system will be able to say, you know, 8 months later, send this person a note saying that their warranty is ending and would they like to extend it. Right. And then you also then have the idea that you could have an app, which we will have, where when the support person comes in and scans that same thing, it tells them not only whether the warranty is valid, whatever the guy knew, but also, you know, issues with that particular unit and how often it's been serviced, anything else. It's an extremely powerful, flexible solution that is limited by the creativity and imagination of the user.
Peter, so when you guys go doing upgrades to the system, right? Do all customers benefit from that? Or
Yes.
like customers that have been used, like, so does it give them the new features?
It rolls out system wide. So when every update that we do immediately is available for everyone in the system. And that's one of the reasons we're not, we're trying to keep this away from that SaaS monthly model that everybody's doing.
Okay.
And then, you know, there's a lot more.
And the system's like on the cloud, and you have security like protecting it and all that?
Yeah, as much as we can with our very limited resources at this time. You know, remember that this is self-funded, but we have 256-bit encryption. It is in the cloud. It's in a good solid server. You know, if somebody came in, if you were going to sell this to a Fortune 100 company or something like that, we would want to talk about maybe having you invest a little and giving us a little better backbone before we went that way. You know, depending on the reliance. We really don't at this time want to use it for anything that could be highly litigious. I really don't want to use it for pharmaceuticals right now. For instance, I don't want to use it for credit cards or for even vaccines. You know, it could be, but I want to stay away from things that, you know, that have that level of potential liability, basically.
Okay.
And, you know, again, and tell somebody, you know, if you came in and said, look, we really want to use it this way, we want you to take this system and give us our own more robust version, and we're willing to pay to have that done, something like that. And then we get to apply that to our main system and use your funds to do that. That helps us and you. Totally wide open to it.
Yeah. Okay, good to know.
All right, that's the beginning.
No, I think I'll need another one, but down the road.
Look, if you could get it from that, you'd take over here.
Yeah, no, I'll need another session. But yeah, no, this is a good start. Thanks, Peter.
Awesome. Totally my pleasure. I appreciate your interest. Reach out with any thoughts or questions. If you're at the show and you've got somebody and you want to discuss it, no problem. You want to set up a presentation anytime, no problem.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Okay.
All
sounds
right.
good. Okay. Well,
Total
good luck with
pleasure.
the rest of the day.
Thank you. You too, man. Happy Christmas. Have a great.
Yeah, Happy Christmas and best of for the next new year.
Thank you. I hope it's good for both of us together.
I think it will be.
All right, man.
Okay, take care.
See
Bye.
you.